Hello, I'm Bartling, and I certainly hope that you're having yourself a spectacular summer day. A little bit of frost is in the air, but I hope that the time that we spend together is going to make it a brighter summer day. The older I get, the more that I think. And I think of the word giving. The word giving. So that's going to be the topic for today. Kind of goes along, at least with me when I think of giving, of school. A first grade teacher was using a lesson to get everybody acquainted. And so she had one day in her class, the first week, she says, I want everyone to stand up by their desk, please, and complete this little phrase. So everyone was anxious and getting ready and stuff. She says, everybody ready? Now give it some thought, and I'm going to count to 20, and then we'll start and listen to everyone. And everyone needs to be kind of quiet in their desk so we can hear everyone. Everyone okay? And then she started. And it goes like this. My mom cooks the best. And we heard, my mom makes the best. She cooks the best hot dogs. My mom cooks the best spaghetti. My mom cooks the best French fries. And pretty soon they were repeating what was said before, of course. And then one little boy, teacher says, Mark, tell me about your mom. And he said, my mom cooks the best that she can. Mark didn't want to let his mom down, so he gave his mom his love. I remember in school, it was grade school too, a geography class. And in that class, I opened the textbook up. And of course, we had to get the textbook, we had to take it home and make our own book covers for it. But when I turned the book open, I saw this phrase, if I saw further than any man before, it's because I stood on the shoulders of giants. And that first day, the teacher kind of explained a little bit that the author of that phrase was Sir Isaac Newton. And maybe we heard of him in science class because he then, when the apple fell, he then talked about gravity. But he stood on the shoulders of giants. Let me ask you a question. What giants' shoulders have you stood on? What giants' shoulders are you currently standing on? I think of a few that I'd like to share with you. One giant, my grandmother. They were poor, but you might say, didn't know it because everyone else didn't have a whole lot. This was on the Indian reservation. And there was a family, the Luce family. Luce family supposedly came up on the river, supposedly, and ended in Jenny Lake. And their name was the Luce family. And they came for two things to my grandparents' place. One, to get water, which they didn't charge them anything for. Of course, it was a hand pump. The water was free. And the other was corn cobs. You see, the Luce family didn't have money to buy wood, didn't have money to buy coal. But in their stove, they used corn cobs. And so they collected corn cobs not only from my grandparents, the Johnsons, but also then the neighbors, the Storms. That was being very, very poor. But every time that Mike Luce, who happened to be in my grade, when that young man came and got water, Grandma made a point to invite him in, and she always had some cookies for Mike. Giving and loving.
Rather was my adopted mother, Doris. You see, she was a teacher. It seemed like we always had kids over. And there were some kids over playing, and they were playing Monopoly. And one of my cousins then says, Aunt Doris, can we have this, such a thing like this, okay? And so she kind of responded. And the other child that was playing, she says, Aunt Doris, can I have some too? And my cousin says, she's not your aunt, she's my aunt. And my mother immediately came right over and she says, he can call me aunt if he wants to. That attention was giving and loving. You know, besides people that you come across, there's other people that indeed are giants. One giant was an author. He's kind of a unique author, at least at the time that I was reading him and so forth. His name was Shel Silverstein. Now, Shel Silverstein, he had things that appeared in the magazine of Playboy. Yes, he did. But Shel wrote a book that I think every one of you, whether you're a parent, grandparent, or even a young person, you should go get this book. I believe it's a green cover, and it's called The Giving Tree. Once you go get it, give it, after you read it, give it to somebody. It's not a hard read, but it tells quite a story. You know, there's a story of a person that seems to be giving a lot. He's not with us anymore. His name is Paul Harvey. And Paul Harvey, I'd love to listen to him, maybe on TV, particularly on the radio. And Paul Harvey tells a story of an 18-year-old boy. And he entered a contest, and he won that contest. And he won a brand new bike. Well, that day, he went to McDonald's. They had a real nice kind of a ribbon cutting type of ceremony and presented the bike to him. And then they asked, what are you going to do with the bicycle? And he said, I'm going to give it to my good friend, Matthew. He said, what? He said, yes, I have a bike and I love my bike. I like my bike. This is a brand new bike. Matthew doesn't have a bike. I'm going to give him this bike. And true to his word, he did that. Matthew got the new bike. Well, McDonald's was so overwhelmed with the giving that the little boy did that they turned around and gave him a $100 gift certificate. That little boy used the $100 gift certificate to buy Matthew a helmet for his bike. Another story goes that there was a gentleman in his old short bed pickup driving the road, and he starts to see something, and as he gets closer and closer, he's able to kind of see what it is. It's something that you don't see much, he thinks, in these parts. It was a stretch limo. But the limo was on the side of the road, and the hood was up. So the gentleman, he pulls over his old short bed pickup and says, can I help? And the limo driver says, I certainly hope so, because I don't know at all what's wrong with it. The gentleman says, well, let me see if I can help. And lo and behold, he helps all right. He gets her fixed and it's running. And the limo driver says, oh, thank you so much. Can I give you something for it? And the gentleman said, no, you don't give me anything. Just then, the electric window goes down, and it keeps on going down. And then the person in the limo sticks their head out and says, thank you very much for all this help. Is there something that we can do for you? Well, the person looks into who is in the limo, and he knows who that is. It's Don Trump. He says, no, I don't need anything, Mr. Trump. Now, at that time, Mr. Trump was the art of the deal. He said, are you sure there isn't something I can do? And the gentleman starts to say no, and starts walking to his pickup. And then all of a sudden, he turns around. And he says, Mr. Trump, if you could send a box of roses, long stem roses, to my wife with a card from you, I know she would just be thrilled. he says, consider it done. Well, he goes back, and as he's driving back in the pickup, he starts to think a little bit, and he thinks, well, this isn't going to happen, so I'm not saying nothing to my wife. Well, the next day, there's a knock on the door. The gentleman happens to be there. His wife, of course, is there, and she answers the door. And guess what? You bet. There was a delivery of long stem roses. And in it was a card. And in that card, it said, Madam, I know that you know that you're one of the luckiest people in the world. Of the generosity of your husband. He took the time to help when I was in need. And instead of looking at something for himself, he wanted to give, out of love, something to you. Please accept these roses. Then down below there was P.S. I was able to find out, and as of today, your mortgage is totally paid. Giving and loving. I don't know if you can see it for sure, but behind me is a statue. A citizen of this city was willing to donate some of his land and then erect this statue. And there's going to be 12 more statues. As I understand it, it's not named yet. It's kind of a mysterious statue. Now, I can't get any closer to it because it's on private land. The city itself has to start to negotiate for that. But there's going to be 12 of those. As I said, it's not named. You know what name I would name it? I would name that group of statues, I stood on the shoulders of giants. So I'm up here on a very high ridge, seeing that statue, and then further is then a key element of our area, particular to our Native American citizens. It is Bear Butte. Only fitting to see the statue of today with the monument of years and years ago up here at the beautiful vista. But since I can't get there, with the assistance of our highly technical people here at Financial Markets, I'm going to show you a drone of that particular statue. So until we meet again, I hope that you have yourself a good and godly day. For after all, how can it be a good day if it's not a godly day? You take care, won't you?